Hello and welcome back to KXAM Plus. I am your host, Esmeralda Zamora, and this Wednesday morning, as we do every Wednesday, we have our Kristen's Classroom segment where we speak with our KXAM meteorologist Kristen Currie about all things um, science and weather and more. And this time it's a little different because Kristen is coming to us from Houston. Kristen, how are you doing?
Good morning, girl. I'm doing pretty well. I am loving all the adventuring that I get to do in Houston. So, just kind of a background here. I'm just filling in, it's not permanent, but I'm helping out our sister station here in Houston with some weather coverage for their morning show. And then in the afternoon, I get to explore around Southeast Texas. And I thought this is the perfect opportunity to bring a little piece of that to Central Texas in case you've got a trip planned or you're looking for something to do this summer. That's going to be my goal the next few weeks.
And Kristen, you had a busy day yesterday. Talk to us a little bit about what you did and what you learned.
Yeah, so I'm at the CW 39 station here in Houston, but right down the road is Moody Gardens in Galveston, Texas. And I had the opportunity to explore their aquarium and their rainforest. Now, just big picture look, this is right on Galveston Island, and there's a whole bunch going on. I mean, they've got a golf course, there's Schlitterbahn right there, there's all sorts of different things. It's a resort, but I wanted to focus in on the education side of what they offer. And I found that within the aquarium and within the forest. So I had the opportunity to go out there yesterday. I started with the aquarium, and as you can see, so much to offer. They've
So
got,
beautiful.
yes, these huge tanks of all sorts of different species of fish and aquatic life. They have a whole section on just like aquatic vegetation, specifically talking about coral, but they've got kelp as well. They've got the penguins, they've got the seals, they got the sharks. I mean, all the things that you would want to do and see at an aquarium. And I had a great time. And I thought, this is a perfect opportunity. I know we have an aquarium in Austin. This one's maybe a little bit more bigger and it's got a little bit more to it. So I thought this is something I want to talk about for our friends at home in Central Texas.
And I see in that video, I don't know if it'll come back around this one, you're actually touching the stingray. That's so cool.
Yes, girl, I gotta tell you. Okay, so I went yesterday, which was Tuesday. Um, there wasn't a lot of people there. There weren't a lot of people. It was very small crowds, and so I thought, most of the time I'd let the kids do it, but because it was just me and another group, I thought I'm gonna do it. You have to wash your hands first with soap and water, and it's probably waist high, the tank. And the gal there, the specialist who stands by the stingray tent, says you need to use two fingers. You don't want to touch their head, and you don't want to touch their tail for obvious reasons, right?
Yes.
But you can touch the back, right along their little spine, right in the middle of the flat body, and it wouldn't hurt you. And she was actually telling me too, the teeth, the mouth are on the bottom. They're like
Mhm.
kind of on their belly side. And so I got to touch a stingray, and it feels just like you'd expect a stingray to
Slimy.
feel, like very slimy, very wet, very soft. They weren't hard at all, very soft and squishy and slimy. But it was a great interactive piece, because you think of how scary it would be seeing a stingray in the ocean in
In
real
real
life.
life.
Right. These were in a very controlled setting. You had the visitor there, a visitor specialist to help you walk through it. But it was a really neat experience. When you first walk in, one of the biggest exhibits you see are the penguins. And I know you showed a little bit there at the top. When I went yesterday, it was feeding time.
Oh my
And
gosh. So you got
as
to
I gotta tell
actually
you,
see them.
I love weather, but if the opportunity comes to ever be a penguin specialist and to feed these penguins, my name will be dropped in that hat because these two gals were having the time of their lives, like just
There they are.
feeding these penguins. They are right there, and so it's tanked to where you can see right here. They're on land, and that's where they were being fed. There's a gal there in the back with a bucket of fish, and then some of it's underwater, so you can see the penguins diving in and out, and it just was such a cool experience. And like I said, there wasn't a big crowd, so I got to go right up to the tank and take some videos and pictures and just kind of observe what it's like being a penguin.
What it's like being a penguin. And so you went to the aquarium. That was one of the places that you went, but you also went to the rainforest. I'm sure you learned so much more in the rainforest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of even just before we move on from the aquarium, talk about the fact that it's going beyond just seeing cool clownfish, or cool seals and sharks. Some of that they do a lot of education on conservation and preservation, especially when it comes to coral reefs. And we've talked a lot about this actually on CW Austin on the 7 to 9 show about how unfortunately there's a pretty big bleaching event every year now with our warmer ocean temperatures. Our coral can only withstand small changes in that temperature of the water. So when we're seeing really warm temperatures in the atmosphere, that warms the ocean waters, right? There's that correlation, that relationship. When we see a jump in temperatures either which way, you're going to see it respond on the other side. And so they have that right there, that coral research lab where they take different fragments, and they actually work with the Marine Sanctuary associated with NOAA, to where they're taking these fragments and studying them, and hopefully, preserving some of the coral reefs that we still have, because they are a vital part of our ecosystem. And then one of the pictures I showed there too was the artificial reefs, the ability to almost like human made right there, these artificial reefs. And we just recently did a story about how I believe it was the SS United States, this battleship that was purposely sunk. It was sunk there on the bottom of the ocean to be a coral reef, so that this marine life can go and build reefs and have that structure that they need to do so. So I thought it was just so cool. And that last picture you see me there, they have this like underwater tunnel where obviously I'm not underwater, but you can see almost, more than 180 degrees around you, all the fish and wildlife. There were sharks. There was a sea lion in one of the tanks, which I had no idea a sea lion was so much bigger than like your normal or harbor seal. It was crazy to think. But I just had the time of my life there in at the aquarium. It's in a pyramid, like a glass pyramid. And it's inside, which is a game changer when you're talking about this Houston heat and humidity. And of course, the favorite is the clownfish, obviously with the success of Pixar's Finding Nemo. But I just really, really thought that the conservation side of the coral reefs was important to touch note on, obviously, in addition to the cool things that you can see.
And how big is the tank there at Moody Gardens?
I want to say I read it was like 1.5 million gallons.
Wow.
It's just crazy because when you first walk in, the penguins are on one side. You see this gigantic fish tank just with schools of fish going around, and then there's so much to explore. The jellyfish too. I haven't talked about the jellyfish. There's a whole room
of jellyfish.
Of just jellyfish.
Is it dark?
A jellyfish gallery. It's dark.
Wow.
And they have different lights that light up different species. There are some that look like cute little like video game jellyfish, little puffs. And then there's some that have so many different tentacles that look almost like tissue paper with little strings, right? It's so neat. I mean, if you've ever been to an aquarium, a lot of this is probably pretty similar. But what I like about it is, yes, we've got some of that in Austin, but this is right down the road. 2.5 hours away. And it's not just the aquarium, it's also the rainforest too, which you asked me about.
And not only is it so close to us, but it's also so close to the beach. So that these scientists that work at the aquarium are also hands-on in the ocean as well.
Absolutely, and that kind of touches back with the coral reef lab that they've got. And it doesn't stop at the aquarium either. The conservation mentality, the want to educate and to just raise the importance and awareness of keeping our ecosystems healthy and alive also goes into the rainforest pyramid, which I kind of stumbled upon. I went knowing I want to do the aquarium.
Yeah.
And then I saw this like almost like greenhouse terrarium looking building. And I thought, what's in there? And so I went into the rainforest. And when you first step in, you go up the staircase and it shows you on the wall what kind of the levels of the different forests are, with like the undergrowth and the tree canopy and the very tippy tops. As you're walking up the stairs, you can kind of transition into that. And then there's this part of the rainforest, and probably my favorite part, if we're being honest. My favorite part is when you walk in, there's this hallway, and you stand in different spots in this hallway, and they have these like speakers that play noises of what it would be like in the rainforest. So you're hearing birds, you're hearing frogs, you're hearing like the roar of a jaguar, you're hearing all sorts of insects, and you kind of walk like a little bit each way, and there's these different things, and there's nothing really on the walls. It's dark green, the lights are dim, and there's just these signs that have the different noises and sounds, like you said. So you're focused only on the audio, only on the sounds. And it's really cool. I mean, if you were to close your eyes and just like transport yourself, turn off your brain, it does sound like you're in a rainforest. And they cover all sorts, just like the aquarium. The aquarium wasn't just what's found in the Gulf. They had, what's found in different ocean basins, the Pacific and the Atlantic. Well, in the rainforest, it was all sorts too. What's in Asia versus Africa. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. So here's just more from the aquarium. At the end, though, I'll show you the rainforest part. When you walk through the audible, exhibit, you open up into this gigantic. There it is. There's the audible thing where you hear noises. There's the tree canopy walking up the stairs, and then this is the main rainforest pyramid there. So you see exotic birds, you see exotic wildlife. I mean, this is the probably closest I've ever been to a monkey.
Oh, so they did have the animals there.
Yes, there are some animals. So it's in a glass pyramid, just like the aquarium is, and there's a ton of vegetation. I mean, you're seeing all sorts of different, like not palm trees, but these just like rainforest ferns. And there's a waterfall. And as you're walking on this guided trail, you hear and see all sorts of different birds. Like, of course, like the favorite being the beautiful parrot, like with the big red and the tail with the blues and the yellows, but also some of the birds I haven't even seen before. And so I walked along that trail, and then you go upstairs. There's a bat cave, if you will. Yeah, a bat cave. And it was just really, really interesting, I thought. The tickets run you about $45 to $50. So it's something that I think is worth the investment, but maybe save up. But the kids, grown-ups, everybody's going to love it.
It's a perfect summer vacation.
Yes, absolutely. And it's right here. And like I said, I'm here for the week, filling in for our sister station. So there's a few other adventures that I have planned. I know this morning we broadcasted the seawall, the Galveston seawall. I'm going to do that on a Kristen's Classroom next week. I plan to go to the zoo today, the Houston Zoo. So that's going to be an episode of Kristen's Classroom. So hopefully you can use these episodes to plan a visit, which again is right down the road. You're not taking it. You can, I guess, take a plane, but you can also just, hop on
drive.
71. Yeah, hop on 71 and turn there on I-10. And I'm hoping that, Central Texans get something out of this.
Yes, and I'm sure that they will. Kristen, what can you tell us about what you have planned specifically for the rest of today?
So today I'm going to finish up my shift here. Our morning show here is 5:30 in the morning till 9 a.m. So I just got done. They're doing our lifestyle show now. I'm going to check in with the editorial meeting, and then I'll probably go to the zoo right after, because if I wait, I know it's going to be too hot, too humid.
Yes.
And then tomorrow, little surprise, I'm going to do the Space Center, the NASA Space Center, which
that's
is
exciting.
Also going to be a Kristen's Classroom episode. So many good things happening here. I am being borrowed, but I'm getting selfishly something out of this, because I'm doing some really cool stuff that I would never be able to do without this opportunity.
Yeah, of course. And we're so excited to see all of this content on our next Kristen's Classroom episodes in the next coming weeks. We do have that article that you just published on our website, cakesan.com. It's titled Field Trip to Moody Gardens. And all of those images and videos that we shared in this live stream are going to be in here, as well as more information, right, from Moody Gardens?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, not an ad that they didn't pay me to go or anything. I just really wanted to bring that conservation and that preservation side of things, of all the good things that they're doing there at Moody Gardens, to our Central Texas viewers. So look for more next week. And of course, on my social media, I'll be teasing some stuff as well.
Yes, and we will be back here on Kristen's Classroom next Wednesday morning with another segment, probably featuring something fun that Kristen did this week, right?
Yes, the field trip series continues, and I will see you back on air on KXAN on Monday.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kristen. Have fun today.
Of course. Thanks, girl. See you soon.